Welcome back to another episode of Hot Mess Espresso, guys. We are back for part two with Ruth. Hi.
Hi, everybody.
How terrifying was episode one for you?
It was a bit nerve-wracking. Actually, listening to it was
hmm
worse than recording it.
Yeah, no, trust me. I play back only what I need to edit and then just kind of skip through when I am editing because the sound of my own voice is like nails on a chalkboard to me, so I totally get it.
It wasn't even my voice. It was just, are you gonna sound stupid? Or are we going to hate everything that just came out of our mouth?
I feel that. I absolutely feel that. But part two is going to be a little bit easier for both of
Absolutely.
us, minus my lighting. I need a new camera, but we're just rolling with it.
It's
So,
fine. We're good.
yeah, it's fine. Everything's fine. So, for complete context, my source for these 9 characteristics is helpguide.org. Honestly, you can Google 9 characteristics of BPD and you are going to find the same 9 literally everywhere. So I didn't feel like I needed some peer-reviewed journal whatever on this. Also, I am the peer-reviewed on this. So, um let's just dive into, for a refresher, the 9 characteristics of borderline are described as, and obviously when you're getting diagnosed, you may have all of them, you may have some of them, but when you're diagnosed, you have enough of them to constitute. So the 9 symptoms of BPD are fear of abandonment, unstable relationships, unclear or shifting self-image, impulsive self-destructive behaviors, self-harm, extreme emotional swings, chronic feelings of emptiness, explosive anger, or feeling suspicious or out of touch with reality, also known as paranoia. And to add to it, there are some certain co-occurring disorders, depression or bipolar, substance abuse, eating disorders, anxiety disorders. I know that ADHD is also a common co-disorder, which makes so much damn sense when you look at ADHD because basically they are that fun. I think it was the Venn diagram, like the 2 circles that overlap. Is that the Venn diagram?
Yep.
God, I haven't been in school in so long. Yeah, so it's like that. But I think in season 4 I went over that and I'll eventually go back in depth. But for now, we are just going over BPD and kind of a little bit of a compare contrast kind of thing. So, um what were some of do you remember when you got diagnosed, if you checked off every freaking box, or if it was more of a hard, because I know we kind of talked about it last week, but
Yeah.
was it like you lit up like a Christmas tree, or was it like they kind of figured it out over time kind of thing?
Um, a little
Do you
bit of
remember?
both because the
Mm-hmm.
doctor who actually diagnosed me was in the inpatient center. So at
Right.
that
Okay.
point, Um, I was obviously lighting up like a Christmas tree because look at where I was. But over
Right.
time, I think my original therapist and favorite therapist definitely was able to see it over time as well because she would see my manic cycles and when I was completely down on myself. So I think it was definitely at the catalyst was lighting up like a Christmas tree. But over time, it was
Mm-hmm.
all sprinkled throughout.
Right. Do you remember back in the day, oh my God. What you definitely struggled with more than others out of those characteristics, or was it kind of across the board, just help?
um, I think the one that I started struggling with to begin with the most was the feelings of self-doubt and just being down on myself all the time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the suicidal tendencies was also a very difficult one to get over. I think once I realized how bad I was getting, it was just immediately like start grasping for help wherever it looks like it's gonna come from.
Mm-hmm. So, um, okay, so fear of abandonment. I feel like you already answered that one last week, especially because you were talking about um the reactive attachment
Yeah.
disorder. Um I love how it's uh acronymed as RAD when it is anything but.
Oh, absolutely. So once I learned about that tidbit of my history, I literally ran around for like a good 2, 3 months and I was like, guys, I have rad. And it is the furthest thing from. And they're like, what do you mean? And I had to sit down and explain it to so many people.
It's either you laugh or you just cry all the time. I swear to God.
You have to laugh.
Yeah, you really do. I
Mhm.
feel like I feel like with borderline though, because we have such a fear of an abandonment. Oh my God, I can't talk today. Of abandonment. Like I feel like you know how like everyone's like, "Oh, absence makes the heart grow fonder." I'm like, "No, absence actually like makes me want to change my name and move to another country
Yeah, absolutely.
because
If you
they don't get it."
no, you could I could know full well that you're just busy. But if you aren't speaking to me and you just suddenly disappeared randomly, it's I've messed everything up. They're never coming back. They hate me. What did I do? How can I fix it? And I'll start doing things without even speaking to them. Like, I'm going to start sending them these affirming videos, and I'm going to show them through acts of kindness how much I care about them because that will pull them back in because I'm so
Yep.
devastatingly afraid of them just deciding I want nothing to do with her ever again. Because I've experienced that happening so many times, it just reinstills in me that if I don't give everything I have, then people are just going to disappear.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why they say that like borderline is there's some genetic aspect to it, but it's also like the chronic whatever because like if you have kind of like an emotionally or physically absent parent, that will contribute to that. And I hope you all are enjoying any kind of ASMR of my cat purring because I'm definitely the spare human and my ex is not home and she is just all over me. But I mean, it's insane. Like
Absolutely.
it's so much to deal with, especially even now. Like at least now after like years of treatment, like you and I can kind of like talk ourselves off the ledge with they're just busy, they're not on their phone, they're this, they're that. Um cuz like you either date a busy man or you date a broke one. Like,
Absolutely.
you know,
And
so
it's not even just with our partners, it's our friendships as well. And I'll literally catch myself
mhm.
and be like, Ruth, you're acting crazy. You're acting mental. Let them have their space because they probably have their own things going on. Stop
Mhm.
trying to monopolize someone's attention or time because you don't actually need it.
Right. Right. I think for me personally, I don't struggle with friendships that much. When it comes to that, and I think that's just kind of like my object permanence of ADHD. I will get like the guilt of not reaching out, but that's more of me feeling like I abandoned them than them abandoning me kind of thing. However, if there's like a slight shift in my sister's like mood towards me, I'm like red alert
Oh,
kind of
absolutely.
thing. So
That's
I think
that's
for
your person.
me, yeah, that's like, I feel like my brain has just like given that fear of abandonment to very specific people, and everyone else is like more on the flip side of like the ADHD object permanence, and then also just like the guilt of not being able to like stretch myself to like a crepe level of spreading myself thin. So, there's that kind of thing. But yeah, I personally didn't like really. Maybe I did like way back when I first got diagnosed, but honest to God, I can't remember because I mean, from 25 to now has been such a cluster
Well,
that
I
I'm
think a
just
lot
like,
of
maybe I
that
never have.
I think a lot of that has to do with, again, this is why we wanted to compare and contrast. Your
Mm-hmm.
family is a unit. Your family is one of the most tight-knit families I've ever seen in my life. Whereas I have, for pretty much my entire adult life, chosen my family due
Mm-hmm.
to my circumstances. I have
Right.
selected the people who are the very first people who get a call when something happened in my life are
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily my legal family by any means.
Right. No, that makes complete sense. And that's also why I'm glad we're doing this episode because, again, I am not one size fits all. You are not one size fits all. We grew up very differently.
Yes.
And that contributes to a lot of where we're going to lean more into one than the other kind of thing.
Oh,
So, um, but yeah, that's actually that's a very interesting perspective on it. Obvious, God, perspective sounds so like invalidating.
it's a very interesting
That,
point because
yeah,
when you look at, especially with borderline, where the whole reason they diagnose it is because of trauma. And I say air quotes
mm-hmm,
because, again, you can ask two people who went through the same event in their own ways, and there's two completely different outcomes. One person was not
exactly.
phased. The other person, it was the most detrimental thing to happen in their entire life. And because of that,
Mm-hmm,
they have received trauma. So, going through your life, I may not have had what you perceived as trauma, whereas going through my life, a lot of people hear the story and they're like, "Well, I don't know if I would have reacted the same way." And I'm like, "Well, unfortunately, everything put together is what got me to where I am now."
mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I mean, literally, case in point, my sister and I grew up in the same exact house. And we have two very different, like, trauma levels or viewpoints or ways we cope with the same trigger. And we
Hmm.
grew up in the same house.
Oh, absolutely.
So, like, we grew up in the same house. I got borderline, she did not. And, that kind of thing. So, it's definitely interesting because, like, when her and I talk about it, it's, she'd be like, oh, it wasn't that bad. And I was like, oh, God, that was, like, literally the worst thing ever. Because it's
Yeah,
just two different brainwaves, two different whatever.
yeah.
But characteristic number two, and this is like my personal favorite because anybody that knows me sees point two and goes, mm-hmm. Unstable relationships.
Yeah, yeah.
Whew.
This is again where I'm like, if I don't give everything to everyone all the time, they're just gonna disappear because
Mm-hmm.
characteristic one and two just go hand in hand for me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is I am the worst about this, and I feel so bad. I will get super, super close with people, and they're like my number one person, ride or die, for months and months and months, and then suddenly, for no reason at all, just, oh, I don't know what happened to them. I haven't heard from them in like a month. I don't know what's going on. And a lot of the time it's on me, and it's because I get busy, or unfortunately sometimes it's, hey, me and this other friend started hanging out and talking, and so that's kind of where all my attention is. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
then there's the actual romantic aspect of it. And you're like, I chose some of the most volatile positions to put myself into on multiple occasions. I put myself at
Mm-hmm.
jeopardy and risk of so many things for the sake of having something.
Yeah. I should be in a ditch right now. Honest to God.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
every every single person that has known me the last 10 years of my life is like, how are you still here?
Yeah.
It's God, I look back and I'm like, girl, why did you think that was intelligent to go to Colorado for a month with a guy you met once, or to just take off an hour and a half away to go hang out with a friend that, like, a female friend, but a friend that, like, you knew off the internet for like a few months, and don't tell your family until they call you because your sister gets a gut feeling, or it's just Oh my God.
If anyone is
Just,
ever
yeah.
curious, just when you haven't heard from Heather, go ahead and just be like, Heather, where are you? What you doing?
Oh, see, we live in the day and age where it takes probably two hands to make a list of people that have my location. Like, I'm
Yep.
as grateful as I am that Life 360 didn't really exist in my 20s. I'm pretty sure it would have made my sister feel a lot better
Oh yeah.
because now now it's my brother-in-law, my sister, my ex and I were all in a Life 360 circle. So like they have my location. I've got several friends that have my location. Like I cannot move without somebody knowing where I am. And I think for everyone that's dealt with my bullshit for the last few years, it's just like, oh, finally. Thank you. Thank you for that one.
Thank you for giving me the peace of mind that I was requiring this whole time.
Yeah, like it definitely it made dating post divorce a touch more difficult
A little bit. Yep.
because um I well one like nothing is more uncomfortable than being like, hey, I'm dating somebody like fresh off of like a separation. Um especially to your family who very much has opinions about things. They're very respectful about their opinions. I will give them that. But I knew they were going to have some opinions. So knowing that they were tracking my every move, I'm like, I'm going to have to like reveal this info a lot sooner than I wanted to. And
You
now I'm
can't
just like, yeah, we're
sneak
going
off to go on a
XYZ.
date.
Yeah. I swear, I'm just definitely meeting like Nicole out for drinks. No, I'm not.
Not at
My
all.
sister knows me better than that. I can't lie to her. I really can't. I either like crack within like a day or I'm just like, well, we're gonna take the really like now. But yeah, no, my God, the unstable I literally was like digging under rocks for some of my exes. Some of them. I do have some very decent, upstanding people that I've dated that it didn't work out, but some of them I think my sister would still swing on to this day, and I thought they were the best thing ever.
Absolutely. Your sister also is a good judge of characters, so when it comes to trying to figure out whether or not someone's a good fit, maybe just talk to her a little bit more often and trust
I've
her
definitely gotten better
instincts.
at it. She knew about this one pretty much right from jump. So
Oh, good.
she definitely yeah. I've told her like everything, even the things she doesn't want to know. So, it's definitely I know that I've come a long way with that. Um, but yeah, just the like you look back on some of the people you dated and you're just like
Oh,
why?
absolutely. Also, I'm going to
But it's
apologize
like
in advance for any background noise because obviously I do live in a house with other humans, so
I
I
don't
tried
care.
to be as
I'm
exactly.
I'm waiting for the dog to like lose her mind because Amazon dared to like park down the road or something. So it's totally fine. You're good.
We love
This is
Scar.
not massive
She's
process. But it's like it's unstable with friendships too. And sometimes when you do that split of like they're the best thing since sliced bread and they're an awful human being, there's a lot to kind of work through mentally because you're like, are they actually like really bad and toxic for me? Or is this just my borderline swinging?
yeah. Um, luckily I have a few people who have proven over and over and over again that they really are the best thing since sliced bread. Um,
Right.
and I have come to rely on their judgment heavily,
That
extremely
right there.
heavily.
Yep. Yeah, I literally there God, this is well, this year has been the season of just shedding really toxic friendships for me. And the
Yep.
amount of times I was like in my like friend circle or talking to my sister or whatever, I'm like, am I overreacting or are they terrible? And 9 times out of 10, they just look at me and go, oh, you're finally coming around. Okay, about time. And I'm like, oh, like I
Um,
wrestled with whether they were toxic human for months, but okay.
yeah, and regarding everything you've gone through this spring and summer, you give too much grace. You give too
I
much
do.
grace because you would sit there and ask me, am I overreacting? And I'm like, no, you're underreacting due to XYZ.
But I'm also just not a confrontational person. Like, I'll go to toe with a 6'4" dude at a bar, but like, give me somebody I actually know that I have to be like, hey, you're like not good for me anymore. I need to like cut it off. And I'm just like, could someone else do that for me? Because
I would have.
it's scary.
I would have. Because
I know
here's the issue. Someone with borderline.
mm-hmm,
Do whatever you want to me, but if you start hurting someone who I care about,
that.
we go into bat. Like, I don't care what you say and or do to me, but the moment you hurt
Mm-hmm.
my people, it's done. It's over. Period. End of story.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And that's actually point 8. So we will circle back to that one.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
characteristic number 3, unclear or shifting self-image. Sometimes you may feel good about yourself, other times you hate yourself or even view yourself as evil. You probably don't have a clear idea of who you are or what you want in life. As a result, frequently changing jobs, friends, lovers, religions, values, goals, identity, all of that. Yeah.
Hi, it's me. I'm a problem. It's me.
I'm the problem. It would my entire wardrobe would literally change based on who I spent like more than 2 weekends a month with.
Yeah. If I could have multiple closets for the multiple personalities that dwell inside my head,
Mhm.
we'd be good. But
Yep.
I don't have that option. So instead, it's a lot of black. Just
Mhm.
black lets you coast by on pretty much everything.
I have like I'm kind of pretty set in my style, which is like a weird combination of no style at all, but it's like a lot of black, a lot of Halloweeny stuff, a lot of like the wino soccer mom kind of thing. Like ball caps are my thing. Ball caps and
Yeah.
beanies, like flannels. I still like mix it up here and there. And like there's at least one point a week where I feel like there's nothing in my closet and I feel completely inadequate. And like this is not just about clothes, you guys, but like it's hard to explain. But I don't know if you've noticed, but like, or like noticed within yourself, but I know that like when I'm around people, and part of this is the ADHD too, but like when I'm around people, I tend to really like meld into the way that they say things, the way like their mannerisms, stuff like that. Like I'm just able to kind of like meld into that. And I think it's because I just want so much to just be like accepted because I feel like I can't even accept the own shit that goes on in my brain. So I just want to be like accepted by everyone else around me, which is also like where the people pleasing and like attracting the not so great people in life come from. But
Yep.
I don't know if like you tend to kind of adapt to your surroundings and it's almost like a survival thing too, especially because our brains are so out there and how we were pre-treatment is so out there that all you want to do is just not be noticed
Yeah. Um,
because pre-treatment being noticed was a bad thing because it meant you were doing something fucking stupid.
yeah. If you are being noticed, you're sticking out a little too much.
Mhm.
Something that makes it a little bit easier to swallow is a saying that you hear a lot more of. I match energies, so you show me how we gonna act today. A lot of people use that as
Yeah.
more of like a smartass comment, but as
Yeah.
someone with borderline, that is 100% just how I'm wired. Is you're gonna act a certain way, okay? That's kind of just how I'm gonna become. Suddenly, I didn't know I acted that way
Yeah.
until just now.
Yeah. And it's like it's really hard to cuz everyone's like, "Oh, you discover who you are." And I'm like, "Do I?" Like granted, you and I've talked about this before. We're pretty set on who we are at our core as people because we've
Hmm.
worked very very hard to get there. But it's still a struggle to like constantly second guess yourself on, you know, is this really who I am, or is this what my brain's telling me that I am? Like, when is the other shoe going to drop? When am I just going to like suddenly alter like everything on the turn of a dime?
Yeah.
And it's a very scary mentality to live with. I don't think people realize that it's not just like a phase, or like a part, like we just like change our style, and it's scary. I feel
One
like our
day
brains
you
are
can,
constantly living. Yeah.
oh yeah, one day you can look like, I don't know, we're gonna use pop culture for an example. One day
Hmm.
you could be Hannah Montana, and the next day you're going to be Pierce the Veil. Like, legitimately, that is how quickly things can change when you go through a switch, and you have no idea that it's coming. It just
Yep.
happened.
And there's no warning, there's no anything. And it's almost like this compulsion of like, well, this is what we're doing now. I don't necessarily like it, but this is what we're going with because we almost don't have a choice.
Yeah.
It's so fun. I mean, this also kind of works with like the whole splitting thing, which I know everyone says that like, oh, splitting doesn't last that. Yes, it does. It can last a while.
Yeah.
I've literally felt myself. It's happened in when I was married. Like, I despised my ex for 2 months. I was still trying to make my marriage work because I knew in the back of my head it was a split. Um, but I absolutely despised him for 2 months. He could do nothing right. And then I literally remember it was like 3:06 p.m. because I just happened to look at my watch or whatever. On a random Friday, like 2 months in. And all of a sudden I was like, no, like this is who I'm meant to be with, blah blah. And it was just like this weird, it was so weird. It was like that. Like a flip
Yeah.
switch flipped. That's
I knew where you
but
were
it's
going.
scary. Yeah, you knew what I meant, but it's scary.
Yeah, it is. It can be terrifying because it can be aimed at strangers, but it can also be aimed at some of the most important people in your life, and you don't know
Mhm.
how to respond to it when it first comes out because you're like, wait a minute, this isn't me. This isn't how I would react. But
Right.
here we are.
And I know that's why a lot of therapists like struggle with working with borderline patients because they make a lot of progress, a lot of progress, a lot of progress, and all of a sudden everything switches.
Hmm.
And I get that that's taxing on mental health professionals, but it's also taxing to live with that every day. And there's absolutely nothing like
Yeah.
that fixes this.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, yeah. And it's frustrating. And I wish more people understood that. I mean, the people that are close to us completely understand that. But random people that don't understand borderline are just like, well, just like think your way out of it. Trying. Doesn't work.
If thinking my way out of situations worked, I can tell you I'd be living a completely different life than I am now. Yeah.
Um
Can I also think
so
myself into
characteristic.
certain situations? Like that? Can we?
Oh yeah, that's
That's
my
just
favorite. That's my
manifestation.
personal that is my absolute favorite. Um the guy I'm dating right now literally got a good helping of that a couple of months ago because I was like, "So, I need to talk to you about something you said last night that made me spiral into, and you know the exact thing I'm talking about, but made me spiral into this thing, and I need to talk about it." And I told him like how the one thing he said made me spiral think into this part where I'm like, and now I feel like I need to bounce. And he was like, and how long have you been thinking about this? And I was like, 22 hours.
Since the moment that you said it.
Yeah, since you said it at like 9 whatever at night. That was just like a random like statement that he didn't realize like that is what just decided to sit in the back of my brain and just and he was like, "Well, that's not how that's going to play out." Blah 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 blah. Like he handled it like a champ, but I was just like, "Surprise."
you don't know how you're going to respond to things, and other people don't know how we're going to respond to things. And so that is the spiraling is the most
Mm-hmm.
taxing part of, and obviously that is not just borderlines that deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has
Exactly.
the capability of spiraling, but the way it affects us in particular, it is the most drastic and terrifying thing I've ever been through.
Yeah. Because all of a sudden you're like out in left field and you're like, how did we get here? And then,
This is
the
not where we started
non-borderlines
our
asking
day.
you that. Yeah. And the non-borderlines asking you, how did you get there? And I'm like, so it started here. It's like that meme from It's Always Sunny with like the lines and everything. And it's like, and now we're here. So
Yep.
happy hunting. Like, I don't know. Oh my
I couldn't tell you
God.
how we got here, but this is where we are.
Yeah, no, you like if I told you how we got here, yeah. So characteristic number 4, for the sake of this entire episode not being a giant trigger warning, um, impulsive, self-destructive behaviors. And I mean, this isn't just, I mean, 4 and 5 kind of go together. Impulsive, self-destructive behaviors and self-harm. They kind of go hand in hand. So we'll kind of talk about the both of them at the same time. So this is kind of everyone's trigger warning because we're going to kind of get into it, but also not super get into it because also I know things are still triggering for you, things are still triggering for me, and I don't feel like having a mental breakdown today.
No,
But
no, that's not what we're going for.
yeah, no, I didn't pencil that in today, so it's going to have to wait.
I was
Um
planning on driving the
so
Alpine Loop. Let's not break.
right. So sensation seeking behaviors, especially when you're upset. So spend money you can't afford, binge eat, drive recklessly, shoplift, risky sex, overdo it with drugs or alcohol. It's very like void filling.
Yeah.
And then obviously self-harm and suicidal behavior is pretty self-explanatory, and we've gone over it in the last episode. So we both dealt with our own levels of self-harm. I know I attempted twice. Obviously not successful. Very grateful for that.
Yeah.
But, there is that, and obviously if you are dealing with those thoughts, 988 is the crisis hotline, and I know you and I both encourage anybody to get a hold of that hotline and seek
Wholeheartedly.
help because the world is 1000% a better place with you in it. I know that sounds very cliche, but after going through my own losses this year, not from that, but just my own losses, that hole that you leave will never be filled. So definitely call if you need help. I wish that would have
Yeah.
existed when I was going through my stuff. So, self-destructive behaviors. We kind of already talked about that, like the relationships we were in, just jetting off to another state. I know I dealt with a lot of like binge drinking. I did not have a drug problem, surprisingly. I had a major alcohol problem that I still like very much have to moderate to this day.
Yeah.
Um, Eating our feelings, which is an more than just like eating a pack of Oreos when you feel sad. Like it is extreme binge eating. What kind of like self-destructive behaviors were you like? Do you still struggle with some?
Um,
Do you
yes and no. Like, they're definitely more pulled back than they used to be as far as the binge eating goes,
definitely?
but
Mm-hmm.
binge eating when I was younger, because obviously I was like a size 2 in high school, and I'm obviously not now. It's been only 10 years, so that's a drastic change for me over a 10-year period.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at this point in my life, when it comes to destructive behavior, I don't I don't drink often. When I do, I probably go a little overboard. Let's be honest.
Hmm.
Um, reckless driving, I'm mindful about it, but I definitely, when I'm upset, the first thing I want to do is jump in the car and slam my foot to the ground on the gas pedal.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now,
I
if
don't,
I'm
but I want
going
to.
to, I won't say that I always don't, because I'll definitely check around to see if there's any oncoming vehicles or anyone near me whatsoever, and I will
Hmm.
get on that pedal. Um, but that's what you do when you are in a car family. It's what we do. I think
That's
the
just kind of a
most,
car guy thing.
yeah, a decade later of being with a car guy, I don't know what to tell you. It's what we do.
Mm,
Um,
right.
I think my most destructive behavior at this point in my life is the self-isolation when I'm upset. Um,
Yep.
I catch myself doing it regularly where I'm like, if my specific people, and this goes again hand in hand with the abandonment issues, if my
Hmm.
specific people who I go to as my comfort people are busy or not attainable at the time, I'll self isolate. I won't just go find someone else who I can hang out with or talk to for a period of time
Yep.
because the other people aren't my comfort people and it's not the same. So
Right.
I'd rather be alone than be without those people.
Yep. I think that's probably my biggest one is I'll still isolate, which is probably why I stay so busy. Because if I
Yeah.
actually have like a night to myself, oof, I get through it. But it can get very, it can get to be a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Being a now working trucker's wife, I'm about to see a lot more of that happening where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to go start finding something to do because now that I
Hmm.
can't just jump in the truck with him and go, I know
Hmm.
myself and I will isolate and it will not be a pretty outcome.
Speaking of not pretty outcomes, extreme emotional swings. We love
Hi,
those.
hi there. Yeah.
One moment you may feel happy and the next despondent. Little things that other people brush off can send you into an emotional tailspin. Um, these mood swings are intense, but they, quote, tend to pass fairly quickly, usually lasting just a few minutes or hours. Um, I'd like to call slight bullshit on that. It depends. I feel like the dissociative episodes that happen with borderline are kind of what makes it last so long. But yeah, I will say like things that people can just be like, oh, it's not a big deal. Like that will put me in a fucking mood for I'm like, why can't I get over this? I need to get over this. Why is this? And it's again like kind of an invalidating cycle of is this like something I should legit be feeling this upset about it or is it the BPD?
I'm literally currently going through something like that where I'm still thinking and or stewing on something that my brand new
Mhm.
coworker did 2 days ago
Mm.
and have been
Mhm.
talking about it a lot. And some people are like, is it really that big of a deal? And other people are like, the fact that you didn't react the way I know you wanted to react. I'm like, yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely that's probably the most exhausting part of all of this. One, always waiting for the other shoe to drop when your brain decides that this just isn't how we're going to do things anymore, but also that just like wanting to get over it because
yeah.
anyone else would get over it, but because our brains feel things so much more intensely than other people, it's like I'm actually going to need like 5 to 7 business days to get over this. I will get over it, but I am going to yap and process out loud and like work through it while trying to like simultaneously shut it down, but you can't.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's a constant battle.
Oh,
And
I
I
agree.
still massively struggle with that to this day.
Yeah. It's something where it'll be funny because I'll be sitting there talking about something I'm upset about, and my partner will be like,
Hmm.
"Why? Why are you still upset?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'd love to tell
I'm
you."
trying not to be.
And then I'll be
Yeah.
more upset over the fact that he said why over what initially happened. Like, you just gave me something new to hyper focus on. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, it's okay.
I
I
know they
just
try to help and then
changed.
oh my god. It's awful.
Hmm.
Um num Number 7, chronic feelings of emptiness, which goes hand in hand with the risky behaviors
Yeah,
because you feel that. And again, we feel things way more intensely than other people. So that emptiness of just like, oh, I'm a little depressed is literally like a black hole of nothing.
it's a void that you can't see a single star shining in.
Hmm.
And
And it hurts.
when
It physically
it,
hurts.
it does, and when you're alone, it's that much worse.
Yeah. I I think that's why I got diagnosed with depression at first.
Oh
And
yeah.
then I realized that my depression isn't I so for me, I call it either chemical depression where it's like literally like lack of, serotonin or whatever in your brain that causes the depression or situational depression. And so I think I have more situational depression because of the chronic feelings of emptiness because a lot of the times my depression just has to do with like a situation that set me off that put me into that void or um just other it's always other things around me because once those things improve, I don't struggle with the emptiness as much. I don't know if that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
it does.
So, yeah, it's not fun. Um 0 stars, literally.
0-star
Um
review every
but
day.
yeah, it's the flipping worst. But then on the flip side, there's the explosive anger. You may also have trouble controlling yourself once the fuse is lit. Um, it's important to note that the anger isn't always directed outwards. It can be inward, and you may spend a lot of time feeling angry at yourself. And that's a big one.
The way so many of these characteristics overlap,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it's going to start with characteristic 8, but then I'm going to go ahead and
Mm-hmm.
jump back to, inappropriate behaviors to
Mm-hmm.
cope with the explosive rage that I have. Um,
Yep.
or I'm going to go and punch a wall because I'm so pissed that I did this one thing that was
Mm-hmm.
minuscule and minute. Or this happened to me, but I allowed it to happen, and I'm so pissed that it happened. So it's my fault,
Right.
obviously. Um, yeah, that's again over time, 100% lit up the board, and it
Yeah.
only got worse over time, truthfully.
Yeah, that one definitely is a vicious cycle with me. Like I don't explode as much outwardly, but like, you have the feeling of emptiness. So you do the behavior and then you're pissed at yourself and internalizing that and like basically beating yourself up because you had to be because it's like, why can't you just be normal? And it's like, it's just this like cycle of
Yeah,
just shit.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I've said it's exhausting a million times, but it's my brain's tired. Like I'm just
You reach a point where you just crash out, and you can't explain to people why you've
mhm,
crashed out, but you did everything you could to keep yourself going, and suddenly, even on a day where you did nothing, you sleep all day and you're sluggish and you can't move, and it's going to take everything you have just to get up and put food in your body so that you can continue living. And even that seems like too much.
well, and that's why like ideation or self-harm is so prevalent with borderlines because we just don't want to feel like this 24/7. It's
Yeah,
exhausting and that seems to be the only way out from not feeling like this. And granted, it does get better with treatment and also with surrounding yourself with healthy people that aren't encouraging certain things
yeah,
and that understand it to the best of their abilities and just being in like a safe environment. Being in a safe environment is huge for borderline recovery. 1000%.
Oh,
And then
absolutely.
it seems to get worse before it gets better. But even with as, quote, good as you and I are with this, we still struggle.
There are definitely days where I'm not proud of myself
Mm-hmm.
just because of the way I allowed myself to either react or receive how things happen throughout the day.
Mm-hmm. 1,000%. But to wrap all of these, number 9, which I think like 6 months ago, I finally understood this one. But feeling suspicious or out of touch with reality. People with BPD often struggle with paranoia or suspicious thoughts about others' motives. When under stress, you can even lose touch with reality and an experience known as dissociation. You may feel foggy, spaced out, or as if you're outside your own body. That one I didn't fully understand until definitely about this year.
Yeah,
Where even if like someone looks at someone else right after you've said something, if they look at each other, it sets off alarm bells. Like, oh my God, I said the wrong thing. Like, they're talking about me. I'm a shit human being. Like, why can't I be normal? Like, and it just, you always feel like you're getting set up. And that sounds very, because like when I saw the paranoia, I was like, that just reminds me of like other mental disorders. Like, I'm not seeing things, that's not me. And now I'm
it's
like, oh no,
the
there's a different kind of paranoia. And
yeah,
it's a blast. Said no.
it's the thought of these people are only kind to me because they're receiving something from me, or they don't actually really like you, they don't care about you, that you're just convenient to be around. Then there's the
Mm-hmm.
actual disassociation aspect of that. Because absolutely, the paranoia is a huge deal, and people don't even realize that they're paranoid about a situation. You could be paranoid about a job
No.
where they're like, you fit this role completely, and you're like, you didn't actually have anyone else to hire, did you? You just needed another number sitting in
Yep.
your chair. And I had
Yep.
literally, after just starting another job this week, I got there and I'm like, yeah, they just hired me because they needed someone to sit in the chair. My manager comes down and goes, yeah, I had 120 applicants. You had 120 people apply to sit here and answer a phone. And you picked me? Okay. Maybe I'm not the one who has the problems here, but okay.
Yeah. Because even when you hear that, you're still like,
What
but you
what
like,
did I possibly bring to
right.
the table that you thought was a better fit than the other 119 people who applied?
Yep.
Realistically.
Because our self worth is in the dumpster fire.
Always. Constantly. I don't care what you say.
Like, look, I love my job. It is my dream job. And I
Yeah.
still walk in there and I'm still like, I'm not qualified. I know I'm qualified enough for that job. I absolutely do. But I walk in there and I'm like, I'm not qualified for this. And it's like a constant battle of being like, no, like you would not have gotten hired there if you were not qualified enough. And it's just like
Yeah.
it's a constant battle and it sucks,
No, I totally get that.
you know.
And obviously the joke that instantly pops into head with number 9 is life's a simulation. It's all fake. Nothing's real. It there's way too many things happening in the world where it's like there's no way that this is real. This can't
Right.
physically be possible, right? No, but it is. Unfortunately, we're
Yeah.
we're all here.
Yeah. I'm here living it. It's great. But there was like that trend on TikTok that everyone's like, "Oh, the BPD eyes." And I'm like, "Congratulations. You can like flip yourself from happy to mad with enough takes." That's
Yeah,
not
you
how BPD eyes work. When you go through a dissociative episode, you don't even realize you're in one until you're out of it and you don't remember from point A to point B.
your dead eyes is you unfocusing. Because I promise you, as someone with BPD, I can do that too. Um,
Mhm.
the disassociation where someone's gonna have to tell me what I did during the however long I just was not consciously there. Um,
Mhm.
that's a scary feeling. And you
It's terrifying.
you don't know what you're capable of. in those moments, just to be clear.
It's like waking up from being blackout drunk the night before and texting your friends and being like, oh my God, what happened last night? Except for it's 2 weeks of your life and you got up, you went to work, you did what you were supposed to do. But other than that, you remember nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely.
And
And
even if you do remember, you feel like you're looking through someone else's like memory bank. Like it's not yours.
I don't physically remember doing this, but like it was a dream, right? It didn't actually happen,
Mm-hmm.
did it?
It does. It feels like a dream.
Or I know it happened because I have physical things that show me, like, oh yeah, I went to this festival and I have tickets, but that's a fever dream. There's no way that
Like
actually
literally,
happened.
I can't tell you what happened. Mm-hmm.
Like, did I meet anyone there? Did I do anything there? Should I be concerned about my behavior towards someone? Not because I,
Yep.
and there's the term, I have a love-hate relationship with this show, but Vampire Diaries. There's the
Mm-hmm.
scene where he is screaming in Stefan's face to turn it off. Just turn your emotions off. That is
Mm-hmm.
not the same thing. Going numb
Right.
is not the same thing because we can do that too.
Exactly.
That's not fun either because you're already having a hell of a
Mm-mm.
time pulling yourself out of every other dark circle, but here we've got this one. No,
Mm-hmm.
the disassociation aspect of it is mortifying because I have no
It's
idea.
probably out of.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I have no idea what I am capable of saying and or doing when I am in that state. And
Yeah.
yeah, I could. There's a chance that I'll remember everything. There's a chance that I will remember bits and pieces, and there's a straight up chance that I won't remember a single aspect of it. And it
I
happens.
really feel like.
I've done it.
Yeah. I really feel like the dissociation is probably, for me, the scariest out of all of them. And I mean, I went through it in my 20s, but that one's scary.
Yeah. It all feels like a fever dream. And so sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you completely forget that it's an aspect of this social disease that we have. And that's the best way to explain it
Mm-hmm.
because it, yes, it's a term that people like to throw around, but when you are actually living it, it is completely different. And yeah,
Exactly.
I could be funny, happy go lucky while I'm disassociating, but that's not my conscious
Mm-hmm.
emotions and feelings. Deep down somewhere inside, I am probably ripping myself to shreds over something that means nothing. But that's what put me into that situation, and there's nothing I can do to get myself out until I finally come out of the disassociation. And then we can do the work
Exactly.
to get myself to realize, okay, it really wasn't that important. We're okay. Let's keep moving forward.
Yep. It is literally it's what kind of pisses me off about social media because
Every
when that trend
diagnosis
came
is a
out,
joke.
yeah, well, when that specific TikTok trend came out, it came out at probably one of the worst times for me this year. And I was just like, that's basically like masking versus unmasking with like neurodivergency.
Yeah.
That's not like, and I just come out of what, like a 2-3 week dissociative episode where like you were checking in on me, but what was the best thing I could say when you're like, how are things? Like, well, I'm like, I don't know. I'm just here. Like,
Yep.
that's where I was
And
at.
I knew that was
It's
going to
not a
be the
quirky trend.
answer, but I was there for if you had come out of it and were ready to talk about it because
Mm-hmm.
you hit a point where you hit it like a brick wall and you were like, I realized today. I came out of it today and this is going to
Yeah.
be what happens from now on. And the only thing I could do is sit
Mm-hmm.
there and be there for you because you didn't know how to react in the situation, neither did I, even though I had been sitting there and talking
No.
to you pretty much daily throughout the whole situation.
Yeah.
There was no way to fix it. It was just,
No.
okay, are we ready to come out and realize that there's nothing we could have done? We are here
Yeah,
now
it
and we
was,
have to find a way to move forward.
yeah. And I mean, it's like people don't realize that that's literally what dissociative episodes are. Like, you're just not there. And then you are, and then you're dealing with kind of all of the emotions that have been dormant for that time while you were literally in survival mode, just trying to get through to the next point. So when you're seeing these trends on TikTok and people are like making it like quirky and, oh, look, I can do it too, it's beyond infuriating, because it's like, that
Yeah.
is not at all what happens. It is a very scary situation for not only the person going through it, but the people around them, because
Yeah.
you just snap out of it one day and then everyone's dealing with kind of the fallout from that. But also, y'all don't know when I'm coming out of it. Like, same as I wouldn't know when you're coming out of one. You just come out of it and then you're just like, okay. But it's, the moral of the story is, I'm so tired of everything being cute and quirky on social media when it comes to this disorder, because it's hell.
I
And
have ADD. Oh, look, squirrel. Look, there's something shiny.
yeah, it's not like that.
I promise you that with my ADD brain, I'm going to sit here and have a conversation with you. Something's going to happen over here, and I'm going to stare at it while carrying this conversation with you, and then I'm going to come back to you because that is how quickly my brain is
Mhm.
bouncing. I don't even have to refer to what's happening over there, but I'm going to sit there and watch it happen while still seeming completely focused
Yep.
on you, except for my line of sight.
Literally that.
Like,
So it's just, we're both very, we've done treatment. I'm still in treatment just for dealing with the day-to-day things, because this is a lifetime treatment, even when you're quote cured and you're no longer characterized enough for borderline, and it's bumped
you can
down, you're
always
still
revert.
dealing with, you
You
can
can
always
regress.
revert. You're still dealing with the characteristics that are still there. They may not
Yeah.
be as intense, they may not be they may be more manageable, but you're still dealing with it. And I'm so glad we did this episode, because I know you seem well adjusted and I seem well adjusted, but there are still so many things that we struggle with that get the best of us. Not as much, but still get the best of us every now and then.
Oh, yeah. On a day-to-day basis, there's
Mm-hmm.
a good handful of times where I have to sit there and be like, we don't need to react that way. It's okay. Things are fine. We're just going to keep moving forward.
Yeah. It's like, okay, brain, I'm gonna need you to like take it down 5 notches so I can get through the rest of my day, and then we can realize that this wasn't like world ending,
Yeah.
but
Or let's
telling
just
yourself
full
that and
stop and
actually doing it,
reboot.
right?
Oh,
Did you
absolutely.
turn it off and turn it back on?
Tried to. Not working.
I'd like to call my brain's IT department, please. Like, we're malfunctioning.
Been there. Done that.
Oh my God. But as always, I beyond appreciate you coming
Of
on
course.
and being so freaking vulnerable. Hopefully this helps people to better understand that it's not, I don't know the words. It's just not.
It isn't what people expect it to be. That's what
No.
it comes down to.
Shit, it isn't what I expected to be half the time. There's so many times that I'm just like, oh, that's a new one.
Yeah, I think actually the more that you and I have been openly talking about it, I'm like, oh, that was not just me thinking I was tough. That was an actual. Okay. You know what? We're gonna
Yeah, that's the
let that
thing
go down the
too.
road.
I think in the year, almost a year and a half that I've had this podcast, the more I've talked about borderline, the more I've realized within myself what were traits and what were responses and stuff like that. And it's really crazy to like look through all that, because that's how I realized what the paranoia actually was. And I was like, oh, I still really struggle with that.
Yeah.
I didn't think I had that up until it's October. So the last like 10 months is when I figured out, after 7 years of being treated for this, that not only did I have it, it's still like one of my chief struggles. Like, and this is why we need to be talking about it more, because then we can dig in and really figure out how to help people.
Oh, I agree.
But girl, I love you. I'm so glad that we were able to do this.
I love you as well. I definitely think that over time, this is something that could definitely be circled back to. And
Oh, for sure.
just obviously, as we find more information, as they do more research, I think it would be fun to just be like, hey, saw this. Let's have a chit chat.
Absolutely. I think it's incredibly important that we just keep talking about it. I'm a literal professional yapper at this point, so I might as well yap about something that actually means a lot to me. So,